epic. Alright, we are now in round number 4 of today's tournament. Spawning at the top left. The blue Substrate is going to be played by none other than Amelie. Absolute menace in this community. Regarded as one of the best, but we saw him get wrecked by Neotep. His opponent, a bit of a underdog. The red PHC, it's D-VulKan. So I've casted 2 of D-VulKan's games today. The first was against Centurion, was against Creature of Existence, who wasn't able to deal with his playstyle. He just spammed heaps and heaps of archers, got map control, and Creature was forced to kind of hunker down in his base. But then he versed Neotep in round number 2, and Neotep scattered it out and had a great response. Put some annihilators around the map. He got a lot of drone hives, a lot of Avengers, and just cleaned up the archers and then shoved into D-VulKan's base before he could actually get the dreadnoughts. And then, he got the dreadnoughts out, but by the time that happened, he already lost a lot of the map control, a lot of his income. Neotep was really abusing the lack of mobility for the dreadnoughts. So let's see how Vulkan can play this, because I hope he's able to be as flexible as Amelie, and he hasn't shown his flexibility in terms of adapting, changing his composition, changing his strategy. I think he has more of a really solid strategy that he just does every game on ladder. But when you're playing in tournaments, it's not quite so simple. In tournaments, people know what to expect more. The caliber of players is generally a lot higher, so they'll know the right responses. That's where flexibility comes in really handy. That's something that we see from players like from Neotep. Amelie certainly is a rather flexible player. I mean, he has his own typical play styles. Like, he really likes going the air rampages. I mean, part of the reason because they were just so damn powerful, and they have been nerfed now, but I think we're going to see a lot of them still. It's a great map for the air rampages, and D-VulKan's playstyle is just so vulnerable to it. Archers are very fragile. They get killed by the rampages very early on. I just hope we see enough Atlas mixed in. I hope we see a lot of Furies earlier on, early enough to contest the sky, or at least just static defense. Static defense has been buffed, anti-air defense at least. So those are really powerful. You have a few constables around, especially if you upgrade them to either the Falcon or the Air Eliminator. Both are going to give you such a massive damage boost. It's going to make it really hard for the rampages to get any work done. So 3 factories is the staple of D-VulKan's build. Goes for a quantum relay. This is a great map for amplifiers because you have a triple radioactives right next to your nexus. Any map where you have a triple radioactives close, that's where you really should go amplifier fast. I mean, even 3 metal is worth saturating after not too long. Fourth factory, jeez. Yeah, 4th factory rather than an armory. That's maybe where I would draw the line. I think the 3 factory is pretty cool. The 4th factory is maybe a bit overboard. That's where you really want to start getting cruisers. The factories are cheap though, so just building the factory is only worth about 3 frigates, but it's handy to have it to transition back into, but if you just neglect cruisers, you can really get punished by like a pretty brutal timing push of a whole bunch of drone hives, a whole bunch of Avengers. Now, I don't think Amelie's done any scouting so far though. There's a lot of martyrs, which is good against his archers. He's got a gateway, so that will unlock the air rampager. That being said, no scouting either from D-VulKan. Yeah, Martyrs versus the Archers. This should be an easy fight for the Martyrs. So they actually get spread out because they were trying to capture the metal region rather than trying to fight. That's the issue there, is if you order your units to capture the region, they don't prioritize attacking over capturing. So that's why I normally A-click on the region, so then they do attack rather than capturing if there are units to attack. But we can see there's a lot of archers that are pretty exposed. Amelie building an aviary now. I think he's going to go straight for a rampager, just given the fact that he's already got the gateway. Yeah, this is where you need to have Atlas frigates mixed in. No, he does have Furies going for his own air transition, so I like to see this. Already building some Furies. Those are going to be crucial to have. Income is pretty much even. Nothing really to write home about. Though Amelie, I'm guessing, has got an amplifier on the way. No amplifier either for Amelie. That surprises me. On this map, I also strongly recommend you get static defense here and the equivalent region, which is this one, because that's a cutoff that connects so much of the bottom left or the top right, and so you can get that harassed with saboteurs, with sentries, and it can really screw up your income. So we're just building, a couple of Smarties, a couple of Annihilators. That's all you need. I mean, one's really enough. Apart from incursion, you want two, just to be extra safe. But I mean, that's a big commitment anyway. Okay, so one rampager, so really good timing too. He may lose one extractor here, but he should be able to save most of these just because of that rampager. Yeah, D-VulKan should focus down the radioactives. I'm guessing it's just an attack move command though. And, that's decent. That being said though, the fact that there was actually a constructor nearby means that he's going to rebuild those immediately. So yeah, this is the weakness of his strategy. He just doesn't mix in the Atlas frigates, the anti-air frigates. I can't harp on about that enough. And I did tell him to after game 2. I was like, bro, you need to mix in some Atlas. Yeah, he's going to get cleaned up here by the drone hives, the Avengers. So can he consolidate? Get his Furies in a good position. Have the Furies protect the Archers. Don't let Amelie take too much of the map because he's getting the top right secured and locked down. Static defense, like just having a Falcon here would do so much. Though he has his own air army too. He's got 5 Marauders. 6 Marauders, in fact. Those are going to be able to shut down this army rather decisively. Killing the Blossom was actually quite beneficial there because now he has no anti-air to thwart his Marauders in this position at least. Okay, we are seeing the Archers push up the top, but I think we're going to just see a Rampager swoop in to clean those up. Yeah, there's already Rampagers in the area. Now these Marauders though, they're going to clean this army up. This is a pretty costly army. It's a lot of cruisers there. He should focus down the drone hives first though. Here come the Dominators. So maybe he will be able to clear these out, but Fury's plentiful to contest the sky. Oh no. Here we go. That one Reaper died. So Amelie now has control of 3 Turanium generators. It's going to give him a bit more income. Well, the Rampage is going for the Sky Factories. Oh my god. Calls down the Saboteurs as well. Try to snipe down the Constructors. But there's no attack order there. So they're just sort of hanging in the air. Emergency turrets deployed. It's going to clean those guys up. That was a bold move, which didn't pay off. He lost about 2 Rampages there, and so now looks like air control is pretty securely in the hands of D-VulKan. But this Turanium income is significant. Oh, upgrading a Starburst Oh man. If D-VulKan went in, he would have wrecked Faith. That's all his production as well, but didn't have the vision, so didn't know that was upgrading. But now that once that finishes, he can't really attack that area, or at least he will suffer great losses if he does so. D-VulKan needs to focus these terrain generators, like now. Yeah, I think he's going for it finally. Bottom left one as well isn't secured, though he will be doing so now with his Marauders, so really important. You can't neglect those Tyrannium, whether it's for the income or whether it's just for the actual the VPs, because Tyrannium gives you 10% bonus resources too. So this is really good. It's going to clean up the Constructor's going to capture this one, going to do a fair bit of damage here as well. D-VulKan's looking pretty strong, just because he has just so much of an air superiority. I don't know how much aviaries there are. I only see 2 aviaries. It's not enough to contest the 4 air unit production. Now, Tormentors are really good against the Archers. Yeah, this is a bit of a throwaway here. Gets 1 Avenger, that was a bit of a waste, but control of the Trinium is now in the hands of D-VulKan, and the top right has taken out a fair bit of metal income. That was an amplifier there as well, so Amelie had invested in that region. I do like, though, how Amelie is committing to upgraded air defense. Just needs something over here. But apart from that, the middle has a starburst. There's a starburst up here as well. So these Marauders really have to be careful. They can probably just collapse upon it, but like it would be costly. Yeah, this is really good. 2 pulverizers. They're defenseless against these Marauders. A lot of Sky Cleansers are going to be important too. Oh, wow. 3 Rampages getting cleaned up. D-VulKan is just outmaneuvering Amelie. This is really impressive. Okay, the Starburst. Oh, not quite within range. The Fury's flying so close to their imminent demise. Yeah, they can't hang around here. Man, there's so many Marauders. Oh my god. Okay, the Starburst, though, is within range. Yeah, he has to disengage from this one, but the army is moved out of position. There's still a lot of Sky Cleansers mixed in, so it would be costly engaging it. Air Eliminator turret won't be completing here, but it doesn't actually matter. Decent ground army. What does D-VulKan have? No Dreadnoughts, so this is the first time we've seen him neglect Dreadnoughts. He's just going for mass air units. I don't know if that's the right call here, because once Amelie gets a really consistent layout of anti-air, whether that's Starburst, whether that's just a bunch of mobile Sky Cleansers, the Marauders can't do much. So I think he's perhaps overcommitted, but that being said, he can probably crush this army. But then he can't really push his win any further. I'd like to see him go for a Dreadnought now. Or like even if he gets a lot of economy, which he actually is doing pretty decently at. Yeah, a lot of economy, and then just go straight for a Juggernaut. That might be a good option too. Straight for an Agamemnon. And then just stop building air units and just go like a bunch of Apollos or something for anti-air. Okay, keep an eye on these Sky Cleansers. Oh man, they're pretty far forward though. It uses the EMP as well. Amelie loses all of his energy. Dominators swoop in. The Furies were all shot out of the sky, so the Air Marauders are defenseless. They've cleaned up the ground armor, but they have to pull back to his defensive line. But there isn't a defensive line. There's no static defense whatsoever. Dominators, though, committing to this. Yeah, all of these Marauders are vulnerable. Free pickings. Trying to boost out some Constables now. Really should have had some preemptively. Especially, again, like a Falcon or Eliminator, because he's lost so many Marauders that he shouldn't have. Oh, man. Focusing down the Sky Factory is nice. The Constable is not effective versus mass Dominators. That's why the Apollos and the Falcons are so crucial. But these reinforcements are getting picked off. That's the thing with air units. When you're relying so much on air units, is it's kind of flimsy. Nice spawn of the Saboteur. Because he cleaned off the, he picked off the emergency turret. He's going to actually capture this region too. Do we have another emergency turret available? Maybe just build a Smarty, because given that he has so many engineers. D-VulKan still has most of the trinium generators though, and his income is still higher, but... Depends what Amelie's going for. If he has a Dreadnought on the way, he's going to be in a great spot. I don't see one though. What about the Quanta income? +7 Quanta for Amelie. Oh, only +3.25 for D-VulKan. And he has so much wasted resources. The problem is when you're relying on engineers for production, it means you're going to have a lot of inactive time. He needs to be putting more engineers, build some Dreadnoughts, spend your cash, build upgrades, so get like an Eliminator turret on his constables. It's so bad as PHC to be wasting resources like this. Even a Substrate, it's really punishing if you just float resources without actually spending it. Nice little cut off there with the saboteurs. They must be getting a bit expensive because he's used them a few times, but the Quanta income is really good. I like this little raiding party trying to take out the Starburst, but he won't be able to. That would have been good if he took that Starburst out. The Marauders could have swooped in. But I think the air control is going to be in the hands of Amelie now, given the delay in air production because he sniped those Sky Factories. The Dominator advantage is decent, but I think it's rather temporary because there still is only 2 aviaries producing Dominators. Okay, we see him consolidating this position. Double Falcon. Got an Eliminator turret as well. No way he's an air army pushing here, but he needs to put some ground defense. Bottom left, likewise, has some defenses, though it is only constables. It will be enough unless a big army of rampages shows up, and it looks like there's one there. Trying to upgrade a Falcon. Hopefully gets there in time. He's boosting with his engineer. So, really good play. Now, this is where building upgrades come in handy. They're pretty cheap in comparison to unit upgrades, and it makes a big difference. Like, just you get a few, 4 or 5 upgrades. It's about 500 Quanta, and all of a sudden, you have 50% more building health. A lot of Atlas frigates mixed in for anti-air. He's just... I don't like how he isn't transitioning into Dreadnoughts, let alone just even putting cruisers would be enough. Okay, this is a good fight though because of all the Atlas. Let alone just the Fury advantage that he has. So Vulcan has the sides, Amelie has the middle, but the middle is not secured and the corners are. Vulcan's also been pushing the sides. Amelie is really running out of territory, though his income is still pretty decent. Okay, that was an EMP pulse. But the Sky Cleanser is just doing so much damage. I think the Regenerate was actually used to match it. Yeah, those Sky Cleansers, with the support of that Regenerate, able to deter the Marauders. Forces them all off. I mean, a Strap Bomber is pretty good versus mass Sky Cleansers because it just does that massive AoE damage. Oh, here's this cutoff. No static defense there, so this Saboteur is going to get the brutal cutoff. And Amelie is taking back the some of the regions. I would like to see him get some more forward Starburst, though. Finally going for a Dread launch. Yeah, a Hyperion plus just a whole... Like, this many Atlas frigates plus 1 Hyperion. That's all that D-VulKan needs to close this game. A lot of Rampages, though. They can get a lot of work done. 2 Constables, not quite enough. Yeah, really brutal engagement there for the Dominators. The Atlas have a little bit of splash damage, so it's enough to splash Dominators out. Now, if they fly over this Falcon, that's really rough, especially up here. Yeah, now we see Smarties being built too. Nullifiers should also be built as well, just so you don't get hit by an orbital strike. Cleaning out all this region, though. I mean, this isn't currently connected, but it's worth taking out those regions. He'll call down an incursion, wow. Okay, pushing through is Amelie. His army is mostly consisting of anti-air, and this Hyperion's about halfway done. Another Saboteur spawn. It's got to be expensive now, but it's worth it to get these cutoffs, and with 10 quanta per second, it's pretty damn good. D-VulKan's still only on 3.25 quanta. Mass Archer is cleaning this force up. The anti-air is a little bit out of position here. Needs to make sure the Atlas are nearby. There we go. Oh wow, these rampages. The Atlas are shredding them so quickly. The Hyperion has completed another Saboteur spawn. Oh my god. The Hyperion's on the field, and that's going to be an absolute beast. So long as he has jamming, and so long as he has Atlas. Now, Drone Hive isn't a threat just because of how much anti-drone power these Atlas cruisers have. D-VulKan's running really low on income because he's lost these cutoffs. We should be able to get these back momentarily, and really need to get some defenses there. Like 2 Smarties and a Falcon, and those cutoffs are not going to get taken. Seems that the Hyperion's going along the right side. I don't think that's the best choice. He needs to go for the middle with that. Get these tritium generators. The right side he can take back with an incursion or sentries. Especially this army is shoving forward, and yeah, he's going for the cutoff. This is really smart by Amelie. And the Hyperion is just not where it needs to be. Only 1 constable there for defense. So much air units. Man, this is shaping up to be a really intense game. I think Amelie's going to take this one, though, just because of his continued cutoff pressure. The endless stream of reinforcements. And by now, he must be going for a Dreadnought. Nope. Just more air units, but the fact that he has this huge quanta income is going to be enough to seal it out in the late game. He's going to have access to an orbital strike at some point. The Falcon gets picked off before it finishes. See, the Atlas are really powerful, but they're just slow in comparison to all those air units. Oh man. Amelie is just completely outmaneuvering D-VulKan. The frigates are just having to constantly run back and forwards to try and force away these air units. And in some positions there was great anti-air, but just not where we needed them. Like, that's maybe an overcommitment, double Falcon and an Eliminator. Though D-VulKan is getting pretty close to a Terrenium victory. He's about 3/4 of the way there. He just needs to consolidate. This region's finally being taken. Amelie has to be careful about the Terrenium. Now, this Hyperion can probably solo this army, because a lot of it's anti-air. Sky Cleansers, Avengers, and Drone Hive. Not very good. Not very good versus the Hyperion. That being said, there's no jamming, so he could be vulnerable to the antimatter detonation. Could do a fair bit of damage, especially given the upgrade advantage. Especially with just the air control. There's no frigates here for anti-air support. He's still trying to build air units too. Maybe worth is just giving up on that. Okay, the left side's finally been taken back, but most of the extractors have been sniped. Still lacking radioactives as well. Actually, it's not too bad. It's metal that's limiting him. And yeah, the ground army from Amelie is avoiding the fight with this Hyperion. He doesn't want to fight this, so this is really smart what he's doing. Meanwhile, Amelie's locking down the sector. He's got forward assemblies. He's going to start sieging. The Destructors can actually attack over the cliff as well. Maybe reach the Nexus. Man. That'd be really, really deadly if you could do that. So, not enough ground defense here. D-VulKan still hasn't built quantum relays. So quantum relays are relatively cheap on metal compared to radioactives. So they're a great way of burning excess radioactives. You just throw down a whole bunch of quantum relays. Especially if you're going for a frigate-heavy strategy, then having a lot of amplifiers and a lot of quantum relays can be a good way to stabilize your spending. But the upgrade advantage is going to be massive. Amelie having about 4 times the quantum income. Taking out the sky production is going to be limiting the options a little bit here of what Vulcan can do. It's a matter of time until he loses control of these Turanium generators. This one's crumbling. Amelie hasn't also fortified his own Turanium, which is probably a good idea, but he is building a Dreadnought now. Looks like we have a Retributor, or maybe, no, that's a Savager, so that's a good choice. That's the anti-Dreadnought, or the Dreadnought Killer, Dreadnought Destroyer, whatever you want to call it. And there's plenty of supporting units, anti-air frigates, cruisers, air units. That's all Amelie needs to do. He's also got the subspace streamer that unlocks the antimatter detonation, which is a deadly strike. Has the quanta for it as well. Okay, we're going to see the Atlases engaging the Rampages. The Rampages should win just because of their sheer numbers, but this is a very costly fight. No, actually, the Dominators weren't shielding the damage. That's what I thought they were going to do. So he will end up losing all of this air army, or at least all the Rampages, if they stick around. Oh no, just kidding. Oh, now the Hyperion is out of support. So yeah, there was a lot of Rampages. He probably has like a way bigger quantum upgrade advantage. Loses the Hyperion now, so that's really the only saving grace that he had was that Dreadnought. Amelie now getting the Turanium lead, the bottom left being occupied. I mean, this one's secured, but he can just get some artillery cruisers. Yeah, here we go, the Destructor. So that can siege the defenses down. Very long range, so he can take that. Relatively no risk. Oh, we saw a Plasma Storm used, but doesn't really matter in the end. Takes a while to kill it because it has the regenerating hull, one of the upgrades you get when you level up the Hyperion. Down she goes. Another one almost done, but yeah, he's actually sieging the Nexus. Oh my god. The Destructors just have enough range to attack the Nexus over the cliff. And he has plenty of anti-air support, so the Marauders haven't been able to take those out. There's about 4 Destructors now, so that's going to be GG. It's going to happen regardless. Air control is in the hands of Amelie. Massive economy lead. Dreadnought almost done. Yeah, GG, well played. That was a really good game by Amelie. And he had a rough start too. There was a while there in the mid game where D-VulKan had control of the map. He had a Hyperion out. He had air control. And then, yeah, I think he just lost heaps of Marauders. Yeah, because he didn't have any static defense back home. So he lost his Furies, and the Dominators just chased him and just killed like 10, 15 Marauders. And that was real costly. Not to mention, of course, the quantum upgrade advantage was just huge. It's really hard to come back from such a upgrade disparity, which is why you should never neglect building the quantum archives to make sure you have your own upgrade streaming in. Pretty close economy, and yeah, Turanium was a factor there for Vulcan, but GG, well played. Amelie, I just love how he played that, you know, going for the cutoffs, locking his opponent down. I think, yeah, one of the criticisms of D-VulKan is he doesn't rely enough on static defense. And a lot of people do over-rely on them. You've got to be careful with them. There's a sweet spot when it comes to static defense. Too much, and you just immobile. He's sort of stuck. You can't really do anything. But not enough, and you can get picked apart very easily. Cutoffs can take you and ruin your income. Little run-bys can harass you. You got to have some, just a little bit. Even on, well, especially on those cutoff regions, which is what really was, you know, the nail in the coffin, was the lack of consolidation that allowed Amelie to keep ripping apart. Yeah, Amelie, that was well played. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you for watching. That was an excellent game. This one will be posted on the Stardock channel live, so subscribe to the Stardock YouTube channel for all Ash's content and announcements if you haven't done so already. My name is Callum McCall, lead designer for Ashes of the Singularity, and I will see you next time. As for the live stream, what do we do, boys? Do we wrap up with a friendly free-for-all?